A frequent thing in therapy with a parent and child is you'll ask a kid like, oh, I wonder what caused you to do that? The parent is very set on the child explaining their reasons why they did something naughty. And it's one of our charges to figure out what's going on in the child's mind. So you say, oh, I wonder what caused you to, take your brother's iPhone from his room when you were explicitly told not to go into his room. And the kid says, I don't know, or shrugs their shoulders. And that sense of growing frustration in the parent, like, oh, yes, you do know, that you weren't supposed to, but you did it because, and there's this drive that the parent has that the child admits their motivation. And as the therapist, what I really recommend is that if a kid says, I don't know, always celebrate that and say, oh, thanks for telling me. You don't know. It's okay not to know. Make that really explicit. And that, for the first thing is even if the kid said it in a way that's like really kind of obnoxious, like, or, they're trying to fend you off, but actually inside they're feeling vulnerable, they're feeling shame, they're feeling defensive for a reason. And part of the reason is that they have mixed feelings about what they've done. They don't have a really good reason that wouldn't implicate them as being basically an immoral person. What are they supposed to say? That they did something because they were selfish, thoughtless, that they don't care about the rules, that they're immoral? It's very, very hard to explain that you have different drives and that you have darker sides that make you act impulsively or make you act in your own self-interest or out of a sense of vengeance or a sense of feeling like hurt pride or other things. And we too, all of us as human beings, we all struggle with that. And so the first lesson is if a kid says, I don't know, probably they're feeling scared and defensive of talking about it. And the parent needs to be neutralized by you saying as the therapist, I gotcha. It's okay. It's okay not to know. Thanks for telling me. So even if they said it with an attitude like, I don't care, I don't know. When you say that, you say, thanks for telling me you don't know. That took courage to tell me. I bet, there's probably, maybe you don't know, or maybe there's a lot of mixed feelings underneath. Why? And you're probably hesitant to talk about it, and that makes sense. Then you take a breath. And you're making space for that to settle, that you're not going to pressure him and get to the point where you're going to not allow the parent to jump in and say, well, you knew that you weren't supposed to do that and your brother wouldn't do that to you. All those things, you have to make space for that silence and that acceptance to really, really land on the child. And then you say, hey, it's hard if you don't know, especially if it's a stressful situation. And I wonder, maybe I could possibly take some guesses and you could tell me if like I'm right or wrong or half right. And then a lot of times the kid might look at you and shrug their shoulders like, yeah, go ahead and try. They're interested, but they're still afraid of being caught, that they were lying, or that they, are going to admit to something that then is going to get them in further trouble. And so my guesses after that would be empathic guesses that would go more towards the nuance of being of two minds, of feeling whatever the pressure was of the moment and having a dilemma about wanting something but not being able to restrain their impulses, or feeling left out, or other things. And that at the time that they were thinking about it, they may have not had their brother or their parents' role in mind, and that's normal and that makes sense. And thank you for telling me about that. And so that takes the pressure valve off of the conversation and allows it to just feel more normal, like that happens to me too. And so that is that making space for the not knowing and for the fear underneath, the vulnerability underneath, and for you to make those guesses will help the child to be more accepting of themselves. And then hopefully from there, the parent can also see that the child is not all this black and white, that they have, an issue with lying or being immoral, and they can have a more constructive conversation about it.